If an unknown soul were sent back to the past, carrying memories of the day of annihilation and a power that transcends time, could he alter the world's fate? Griley, once a failure, now holds a second chance in his grasp. This time, he will surpass even the greatest heroes to rewrite history. The world crumbled once before, but he won't let it happen again. Before that moment, it seemed the world was on the verge of salvation. The heroes had reached the final battle. But things were far from simple. The power of the Annihilator was overwhelming. Our protagonist, an anonymous support unit member, was struck by a crimson beam that pierced through his body, leaving a gaping hole with no chance of survival. It was a fatal blow, and he collapsed in a pool of blood. In the end, he died without accomplishing anything. The one responsible for this devastation was a nameless entity. To protect humanity from it, a team of heroes was formed. First was Brian Miller, the shield protecting the continent. Next was Bella Leyenbrad, the Grand Mage whose power rivaled an entire army. Alongside them was Jacob Bloomfield, the holy archer who felled a high-tier dragon with a single shot. Finally, there was Amy, the sword saint, the mightiest swordmaster. In contrast, the protagonist was merely a member of the support unit, a nameless speck compared to these heroes. The gap between them and him was vast. Despite the support unit's diligent training, they could not withstand even a few seconds in battle. The team of heroes relentlessly attacked the entity. But to it, their efforts were nothing more than a game. With a single strike, it defeated the entire group. Gray, clinging to the last threads of consciousness, could not believe his eyes. Despair set in. There seemed to be no way for humanity to triumph. Yet something puzzled him. His heart had been destroyed long ago. So why was he still alive? A flash of light appeared, accompanied by a voice. "I have found you," it said. A figure called him the bearer of a great power. Gray, and he found himself in a surreal, otherworldly space, his body fully restored as if nothing had happened. Beside him stood the goddess of timelessness. She revealed that he was not truly dead and that his own power had kept him alive. She could not fully explain the nature of Gray's strength. But one thing was certain. It surpassed the power of the nameless entity if only he could control it. Gray vaguely understood that this meant he might have a chance to win. The goddess, however, was not certain. What she did know was that defeating the Annihilator was essential. After saying that, the goddess of timelessness struck him in the chest, a piercing, fatal blow, and declared that he was now free to go. A radiant light enveloped him, and as Gray began to lose consciousness, the goddess lent him her power. Moments later, he reappeared on the battlefield. The black sword in his hand glowed red with his newfound strength, a power invisible to the naked eye. Quickly grasping his situation, Gray charged at the Annihilator. The entity had not anticipated a survivor with such strength. Gray could now claim his power surpassed the enemy's. But the Annihilator was not to be underestimated. It struck again, cleaving Gray's body in two. Believing victory was assured. But what followed left it stunned. Gray's entire form dissolved into a black mist and reformed. The Annihilator no longer dismissed him. Realizing Gray was no longer human, Gray resurrected with half his face human, half demonic, driven by a singular desire to defeat the entity. Two great streams of power collide. Despite trying to resist, Gray's immense power sent it reeling. Severely wounded, Gray's expression was devoid of emotion, uncertain whether he was still human at all. Gray's immense power sent the Annihilator hurtling back, grievously wounded. His face expressionless, Gray no longer knew if he was truly human. His legs, no longer entirely human, glided across the ground. The Annihilator stood before him, visibly shocked. "You are still alive," it exclaimed, marveling at Gray's strength. "Your power is not to be underestimated." "Well then," the Annihilator sneered, "I will crush you over and over until you are truly dead." It fell silent, staring at him, unaware that Gray had already closed the distance. Gray attacked swiftly, catching the entity off guard. Golden ichor oozed from the wound his strike inflicted, a monstrous sight. But moments later, the Annihilator twisted its hand, and the wound healed instantly. Under the full moon, it transformed into a new, more menacing form. "Time's up," it declared. Gray's eyes widened in surprise. What was that? It was as if the sky had abruptly turned to night. But then a faint smirk curled his lips. So what? He charged again, slashing with ferocity. Yet, to his shock, his blade left no mark on the entity. The smirk vanished from his face. The Annihilator's body was as impenetrable as golden scales. In this twilight realm, it taunted, nothing can harm me. Stop your futile resistance and look to the stars. Gray's eyes widened, fixated on a glimmer in the sky. Beautiful, are not they? The Annihilator mocked. The glimmer grew into a massive beam of light. A surge of colossal power crashing down toward Gray. The Annihilator watched, confident in its victory. As the blast subsided, the space returned to normal, leaving a vast crater in its wake. The Annihilator seethed, if you are crushed to dust, you won't regenerate. But at that moment, a swirling green light appeared, startling the entity. What is this? It gasped. The light formed a glowing magical circle, pulsing with energy. A voice echoed from within. You have amassed an immense amount of power enough to send you back. The Annihilator's eyes widened in realization. No, it can't be Kronos. It shouted, are you watching, you wretched goddess, can you hear me? The voice of Kronos, the goddess of timelessness, continued, addressing Gray, bearer of great power. I will channel all my strength to send you back to the past. The Annihilator roared in fury, damn you, Kronos. Kronos spoke one final time, this is all I can do for you. The magical circle, resembling a clock, glowed brighter. I entrust the fate of this world to you. And with that, Gray was pulled into the past. He awoke in a lush, green meadow, sitting up in a daze. Where was he? Surrounding him were endless fields of grass under a vast sky. Something caught his attention in the distance. It was Renato village, his hometown. His eyes lit up. It could not be. That village was destroyed 15 years ago. Recalling Kronos' words, I will send you back to the past, and piecing it together with his surroundings, Gray was struck with panic. What in the world just happened? Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through his hand. Looking down at the bandaged hand, Gray muttered. This wound, that is right, around this time, I was always getting bullied by Beer and his gang. His hand trembled. I can't let them beat me again. But his face fell in sorrow. They were too strong, he could not win. Closing his eyes in despair, he thought back to the earlier vision, convincing himself that defeating the Annihilator, Liquid A, was just a dream. He began walking, resolute. I will figure out how to deal with them when I am stronger. I do not want to get hurt again. Moments later, he froze. Standing before him was Beer, the bully, flanked by his cronies. I have been looking for you, Beer sneered. You are such a pain. Gray eyed him warily. Suddenly, Beer tossed a sword at his feet. Pick it up. Gray hesitated, confused. Beer taunted, don't play dumb. Let us have a friendly spar. Gray replied calmly, a spar, sorry, but my wound has not healed yet. Thanks for the invite, but I can't until I am recovered. Beer and his gang laughed maliciously. Don't worry, the sword's blunted perfectly safe. Gray stood firm. Even a blunted sword was still a chunk of iron. One wrong swing could do serious damage. Beer's patience snapped. He slammed his sword into the ground, snarling, shut up, you mutt, you think you get to say no. His rage boiled over. If you do not like the sword, fine. I will beat you with my fists. Gray's heart raced, his teeth clenched. He is going to attack me unarmed. What kind of spar is this? His bandaged hand shook. Before being sent back, a military doctor had told him his swordsmanship never improved because of an injury from his childhood. The memory of himself crying pathetically flooded back. This must be where my miserable life began. Instinctively, Gray dodged one of Beer's strikes, surprising even himself. He locked eyes with Beer, dodging another blow with ease. Is he always this slow? It was like child's play. Then it hit him. It was not Beer's slowness. Gray had become faster. Beer's cronies gaped, stunned. His movements were those of a completely different person. In a flash, Gray reached the sword. My body may not be the same, he thought, gripping it tightly. But I still remember every battle I have fought. Beer charged, swinging wildly. But Gray parried with a single strike, sending him staggering back. Beer winced in pain, squinting. One blow was enough to knock him down. Gray wondered, should I even bother fighting someone this weak? He shook his head, eyes narrowing. No, Beer did not deserve his pity. These scum bullied me because I could not fight back. A red glint flickered in Gray's eyes. But that is no longer true. With a swift motion, he flung his sword, knocking Beer's weapon from his grip. Beer's brow furrowed, a hint of fear creeping in. Damn it. Gray glanced at the sword on the ground. He dropped it that easily, worse than a rookie. He stood firm, recalling Beer's taunts. They taught me to grip my sword tightly, even if it is blunted. A smirk spread across Gray's face, now tinged with amusement. Beating someone with a blunted sword, perfectly safe, right? Gray slashed diagonally across Burr's chest. Though the blade was blunted, the sheer force of his strike drew blood. Beer crumpled to his knees, clutching his shoulder in agony, unable to believe his eyes. Gray was equally stunned. Wasn't this sword blunted? He inspected the blade. It was indeed dull. If it had been sharp, Beer might already be dead. A flicker of killing intent flashed in Gray's eyes. With a swift motion, he slammed the flat of the blade into Burr's face, sending blood spurting and a tooth flying as Beer was knocked back. Guess we will keep it blunted, then. Gray stepped toward the trembling Beer. What is wrong? Why all the screaming? Beer was shaking, on the verge of tears. You said a blunted sword was safe, Gray said with a gentle yet menacing smile. That was you, right? The blood-stained blade gleamed faintly. Beer, clutching his mouth, stared at Gray in terror before glancing at his cronies. What are you idiots doing? Get him. The group muttered among themselves, unnerved by Gray's sudden strength. He is ridiculously strong all of a sudden, one whispered. Let us hit him from behind. At Burr's signal, the three lackeys charged, surrounding Gray. He merely smirked. What is this? Want another round? Kill him, Beer barked, and the three attacked in unison. Gray's voice turned icy. I was going to let this slide. Screams of pain echoed through the forest as Gray dispatched all four with ease. Their faces were swollen and bruised beyond recognition. Gray reflected silently, to think I used to be terrified of these guys. He turned to them. You are students of the Saria swordsmanship school, right? Beer and a chubby lackey nodded meekly. Sort of. We thought we were strong enough, so we stopped going, Beer admitted. Gray wiped sweat from his brow. This is what they call strong enough. I should not expect much from that school, but it might still have some value. He slung the sword over his shoulder. Introduce me to the school. You need a referral to join, do not you? Beer hesitated, nervous. Why do not you ask someone else? If I tell the master I lost to you, I can't imagine what he will say. Gray's response was a cold slash that split a falling leaf in two. Let us finish our little chat, shall we? Terrified, Beer scrambled to his feet, practically tripping over himself. I will introduce you, the school's this way. His lackeys, equally panicked, shouted, Wait, Beer, don't leave us. Soon, they arrived in a bustling town. Beer glanced at Gray. Why do you want to join the school anyway? Gray asked, doesn't it offer recommendations to the academy? Beer nodded hesitantly. I have heard it does. Gray sighed. That is exactly why I want in. One of Burr's lackeys piped up. You are already so strong, you do not even need the academy. Gray's expression grew serious. If only strength like this were enough. He recalled the carnage of his battle with the Annihilator Liquid A. Even the world's mightiest heroes could not stand against it. Even with his newfound power, when the entity got serious, he could not leave a scratch. I do not know how strong I need to be to defeat it, but there is a clue. Burr's pointing finger interrupted his thoughts, gesturing ahead. Gray remembered facing the Annihilator. In that fleeting moment, he would briefly control that dark power. He recalled training with a sword, focusing on the techniques taught by the Sword Saint. Determination hardened in him. If I would spent more time honing my swordsmanship under the same conditions as the Sword Saint, that battle might have ended differently. That must be why Kronos sent me here. They stopped before a young woman. So, let me get this straight, she said sternly. You used the swordsmanship I taught you to bully civilians, only to get beaten to a pulp. She rested her sword on her shoulder, clicking her tongue in disapproval. This was the head instructor of the Saria swordsmanship school. Beer stammered, we did not mean to bully him, master, it was just a spar. Before he could finish, Saria's sword flashed, knocking out several of his teeth. The other three lackeys trembled like cornered animals. Who gave you permission to make excuses? Saria snapped. If you call ganging up on an unarmed kid a spar, then what I just did was a spar too, right? She brought her sword close to Burr's face. Get out and never come back. Her voice was iron. As of now, none of you are students of this school. The group muttered, yes, master, and shuffled away, supporting each other. Saria knelt before Gray. I am sorry for the trouble my former students caused you. Gray waved it off graciously. No need to worry, madam. Thank you, she said, moving to the point. I hear you want a recommendation to the academy. Yes, Gray confirmed. Saria handed him a wooden sword. As an apology for Beer and his gang, I will write you that recommendation. But first, I need to test your skill. She raised her own sword. Don't strike first. Attack when you are ready. Gray nodded. Here I come. He lunged, his strike swift and precise. Saria watched him closely, inwardly marveling. His swordsmanship is practical for his age, as if he has fought countless battles. She parried his blows. Beer and his lot were no match for him. The two traded strikes, Saria blocking while Gray pressed forward. Her mind raced. His style is mostly self-taught, but there are traces of academy techniques. Who trained him? It is still rough, but there is immense potential. She smiled. He is a raw diamond. Saria steadied herself. A shame, but this ends here. She shifted to a serious stance. Gray charged, his eyes flashing red. Their blades clashed again. Saria swung, but Gray dodged nimbly. She blinked in surprise. Strange. Why is not he tiring? How is he keeping up with me? She pressed her attack, thinking, I only meant to test him, but why am I going all out? A flicker of fear crossed her face. This kid is terrifying. Gray's eyes glowed a deep crimson as he raised his sword. With a single slash, his blade shimmered black and red. Saria stepped back, a bad feeling creeping in. Was that just a reckless swing? Then she saw it her opening. Smirking, she leapt forward. It is over. But her smile faded, replaced by shock. Her wooden sword had been sliced cleanly in two. Saria stared in disbelief, glancing at the severed half of her wooden sword. A faint black-red mist lingered on the broken edge. Gray, horrified, recognized the sensation. It was the same as that moment. So I still have that power. A sudden pain flared in his head, causing his body to go limp and collapse. Seeing Gray trembling, Saria panicked. What is wrong? Are you okay? Sweating profusely, Gray gritted his teeth in pain. My body can't keep up with this power. Struggling to his feet, he stammered, I am fine. Wiping the sweat from his face, he thought, I barely managed to stand. I should not use this power recklessly. Staring ahead, he silently vowed again, I can't afford to use it carelessly. Saria looked at him, puzzled. Gray, eyes closed, sank into his thoughts. It is better not to use it. Even if I told her, she would not believe me. Besides, I can't control it yet. Scratching his head with an awkward smile, he said, I got a bit carried away. But Saria's gaze remained fixed on the broken wooden sword, her expression one of shock. Logically, it was impossible to cut her sword with a blunted wooden one, and Gray knew it too. Noticing her suspicion, Gray asked nervously, is something wrong? Saria thought, he is not going to explain, is he? Closing her eyes tightly. She turned and tossed the broken sword aside. All right, you said you wanted a recommendation to the academy, right? Yes, Gray replied. I heard you could introduce me. Saria nodded firmly. I can. I could write a letter recommending you to the most prestigious school in the kingdom, the Royal Swordsmanship Academy. Her eyes glinted coldly. But I would not advise it. She looked at him with certainty. That place is not right for you. Gray fell silent, his grip tightening on the sword. I knew it. I am still not strong enough. Beyond that fleeting moment, he would accomplish nothing. But to his surprise, Saria continued, resolute. You should aim for the World Alliance Academy. Gray's eyes widened in shock. Not the kingdom's prestigious school, but the most renowned institution in the world. His jaw dropped. The World Alliance Academy, the one where the Sword Saint and the others studied. He blurted out, someone like me could get in there. Saria replied calmly, it is not impossible. Studying him, she added, you must have realized it yourself, your body is not suited to be a swordsman. Her expression grew serious. At the Royal Academy, you might fool them with skill alone, but at the World Alliance Academy, you can't hide. How could someone with such a frail body wield such skill? Gray scratched his head, defeated. She is right. Sighing, he thought, everyone from that academy is a true monster. With a body like mine, I do not stand a chance. Saria stepped closer. Why give up already? You have got 9 months until the entrance exam. Gray replied anxiously, only 9 months. She nodded. It is not plenty of time, but it is enough. I want you to trust me. Gray fell silent, unsure what to say. Saria asked again, are you ready to endure hardship for the next 9 months? Looking at his hand, Gray answered with conviction, I do not want to suffer. His fist clenched tightly, but I will do it. His eyes blazed with determination. Please guide me for the next 9 months. Saria smiled, satisfied. Good. Her tone shifted, making Gray uneasy. Cracking her knuckles, she grinned wickedly. Let us begin your personal hell. Under Saria's grueling training, Gray endured tortuous regimens. Days blurred into weeks, and weeks into months. 8 months later, Gray had transformed into a lean, muscular young man with chiseled abs. Saria, standing beside him, remarked, "You have toughened up nicely." Beaming with pride, she added, "I have taught you everything I can. Now go with confidence." Gray frowned, "But there is still a month before the exam," Saria advised. "Taking a test in an unfamiliar place is not easy. It is best to arrive early." She handed him a pouch of coins. "This is enough for travel and food for a month." Gray hesitated. "A month early, that is too soon. I can't accept this," he admitted sheepishly. "It feels like you are kicking me out of the village." Saria burst out laughing. "You are overthinking it." Her tone shifted slightly. "I heard goblins have been spotted nearby." Gray froze, but Saria quickly added, "The village has hardly any guards, but it is fine. The Adventurers Guild will send help from the capital, so there is nothing to worry about." She offered the pouch again. "Go take your exam with peace of mind." But Gray saw through her lie. "No one's coming to help this village." Night fell. Saria trekked through the forest, passing human skeletons nailed to trees, following a trail of blood. She recalled the scouting report and looked ahead. "It is there." A voice interrupted her. "Where are you headed?" Gray appeared on a branch above, smiling faintly. He was determined not to let his master die like that. Seeing Gray, Saria frowned, puzzled. "Gray, what are you doing here? Aren't you supposed to be on your way to the academy?" Gray leapt down to the ground. "That is my question for you. Didn't you say the goblin nest would be handled by soldiers from the capital?" Saria sighed, exasperated. "They said they could not come due to an emergency, so I decided to deal with it myself." She shrugged. "One person's enough. I know the nest's danger level from the scouting report." She explained that the leader was a high-tier goblin, with about 40 to 50 monsters in the nest. That number of minions is a bit troublesome, though. High-tier goblin, Gray thought. It was not overwhelmingly powerful on its own, but goblins' true strength lay in their intelligence and leadership. Getting surrounded would be suicidal. Sweat beaded on his brow as a certainty gripped him. Saria, confused, noticed his expression. "If I let her go alone, she won't come back, and this village will be destroyed by them. I have seen that future with my own eyes." Gray's voice was firm. "Please let me come with you." Saria shook her head. "I told you, I am enough." But Gray would not relent. "I do not want to miss this chance for real combat. Or do you think I would just be a burden?" Saria laughed. "You know you would not hold me back. I can't even beat you in a spar anymore." She touched the sword at her hip. "But in a real battle, especially against a sudden monster nest like this, anything can happen." She gestured to the countless skeletons dangling from the trees. "For something this dangerous, it is best to wait until you have more combat experience." Gray's face darkened. "So you are set on going alone?" He stepped closer. "Then I have an idea." Saria raised an eyebrow. "What is that?" "I will fight you," Gray said. Drawing his sword, "I will knock you out and deal with the goblins myself." He pointed the blade at her, unwavering. Saria fell silent. Then burst out laughing. "All right, I give up." Her expression turned serious. "But promise me, no matter what happens, you will come back safely." Gray lowered his sword, relaxing slightly. "That is my plan too." He added, "And do not you dare die either." "Of course not," Saria replied with a grin. Together, they advanced toward the goblin nest. Whispering, they surveyed the area. "No escape routes," Saria noted. "They are bold to build a nest in a place like this." Gray glanced at her. "We can't escape either. These are intelligent monsters, we need to be cautious." "I know," Saria said. "There are a lot of green goblins here, but I do not see the leader. It is probably in the tent. Hopefully, we can thin their numbers before it shows." She gave orders. "Gray, take them out one by one from that side. I will handle this side." Gray nodded. "Got it." "Good." They assumed battle stances. "Begin." A goblin suddenly noticed something. Before it could react, Saria appeared and decapitated it with a single slash. Another goblin nearby panicked. And the rest exchanged signals, chattering angrily before charging at her. At that moment, a sword-wielding hand intervened. Gray. He cut through the goblins with ruthless precision, sending them to their graves before they could react. Saria was no less deadly, her blade severing heads with every swing. In moments, they would clear the area. Saria remarked, "Not bad. Is this really your first time?" Gray remained vigilant. "Master, stay sharp. This is just the beginning." He frowned, staring at the goblin corpses. They are too weak. If they were this frail, Saria could have handled them alone. He turned, sensing something off. A pair of red eyes glared from inside the tent, radiating fury. Gray's heart raced. Run, now, he shouted at Saria. What is wrong? She asked, eyes wide. But she followed his lead and ran. A shadowy figure pursued them. With a single leap, a goblin landed close behind. Saria laughed, turning to face it. A high-tier goblin, what an honor. But Gray shook his head. No, that is not the leader. As he spoke, the goblin's mouth gaped. And a horde charged, led by a majestic creature exuding a red aura. Each goblin's eyes glowed with bloodthirsty rage. Saria froze, stunned. What is that? Staring at the red aura creature, she realized it was far stronger than a high-tier goblin. Gray whispered, a goblin general. That is the true leader of this nest. They were surrounded. The goblin general, clad in skull armor, radiated aggression. Saria shouted, a goblin general, that is the real leader. Gritting her teeth, she glanced back. Take down the axe wielder and run. Her sword clashed with the goblin's axe, sparking. With fierce determination, Saria slashed diagonally across its body. Blood spurted, and she thought, got it. But her eyes widened in shock. As the wound began to heal, Gray, fending off other goblins, called out, it is useless. The general's roar echoed, amplifying its allies' strength and regeneration. Saria struggled to hold her ground. No wonder this feels off. I can't even take one down. Gray sliced through a goblin's abdomen, then shouted, Master, I will handle the rear. You do not need to kill them, just buy me time. Saria frowned, confused. What are you planning? Watching his back, she realized, there is only one option, is not there. Gray locked eyes with the growling goblin general, his gaze resolute. I have to take that bastard down. Gray swung his sword, cutting down the goblins blocking his path. Annoying, he thought, they keep trying to flank me. Each slash targeted a goblin, one screaming in rage as it charged with an axe. Gray's eyes glinted coldly. Right now, I just need to focus on wiping out every enemy in front of me. But at that moment, his sword shattered. Gritting his teeth in frustration, he realized, my sword could not withstand a strengthened ogre. Dodging the creature's blows, he grabbed a spare sword. Good thing I had a backup. But it would not last long either. Suddenly, Saria tossed him another blade. Gray, use my spare sword. Catching it, he called, thanks. Assuming a fighting stance, he muttered, now I have got two, but it is still not enough to take down all these enemies. Facing the ogre general and its minions, Gray sheathed one sword. Charging with a single blade, he thought, this'll do. A goblin ambushed him, landing a cut that drew blood. Gray blocked its follow-up strike. Teeth clenched, trying to shake off the swarm. His target was the goblin general. Suddenly, the skull armor on the general's body glowed, and it let out a deafening roar. Its eyes flashing with a red streak. Gray's eyes widened in shock. What? The roar empowered the goblins, making them even stronger. Struggling against a charging goblin. Gray muttered, you saw through my plan, huh? Your intelligence is not just for show. His sword clashed with an axe, sparks flying. Breaking free from the endless exchange, he darted forward. Get out of my way. Every step left a trail of slashes, but the goblins refused to let him reach the general. I do not have time to waste on them. One goblin grabbed his leg, while another leapt with an axe, not to attack, but to throw itself onto Gray's blade, dying instantly. He realized, they are sacrificing themselves to wear down my sword. Another goblin appeared, startling him. A massive, muscular beast. It threw a punch, which Gray blocked with his sword. But the force sent him flying, crashing into debris with a bone-rattling impact. Blood trickled from his mouth. As he trembled in pain. Glancing at the sword at his hip, his last one, he staggered to his feet. I have to face an entire horde and their general with just one sword. Drawing on memories of his past life, he thought grimly. I know I can't win. But instead of giving up, he gripped the blade tightly. Looking back, he shouted, Master, run, get out while they are focused on me. Saria gave a faint smile, shaking her head. Sorry, but I can't do that. Gray insisted, are you going to die for nothing? I will follow you, do not worry about me. Her voice turned cold. It is not that. She glanced down at her thigh, where a deep wound oozed blood, left by a goblin. I can't run anymore. Gray's heart sank at the sight of her injury. There is no other way. Fury surged through him as he charged the goblins. I went back in time to defeat the Annihilator. His final sword shattered as he struck. And it ends in a place like this. But he refused to accept defeat. Clutching the broken blade, he thought, no, it is not over. Recalling that moment of power, he urged himself. If I can tap into that strength again, no matter how many enemies stand before me. Closing his eyes, he focused, searching for that sensation. His eyes snapped open, glowing with a red streak. The legend had returned. With a single slash, he obliterated the goblin horde. A cloud of dust enveloped him, black-red mist swirling around the broken sword. Saria called out, worried, Gray. He turned slowly, blood smeared across his face, half of it shrouded in dark red mist. Smiling reassuringly, he said, it is all good. The goblins lay decapitated. And the general's skull armor was cleaved in two, leaving it stunned. Saria, equally shocked, did not notice a goblin sneaking behind her. But she spun in time to parry its attack, noticing its weakened state. You really gave me a run for it, she said. Dispatching it effortlessly, she added. Without your leader's power boosting you, you are nothing. Together, they eradicated the remaining goblins. Somehow, we did it, Saria said. Gray held up the broken sword. Sorry, I broke your blade. Saria waved it off. It is fine, you saved my life. Taking the sword, she said, we will deal with that later. But that attack just now. Before she could finish, Gray collapsed, his strength depleted. He hit the ground, unconscious. As Saria shouted in panic, Gray. While unconscious, Gray found himself in a strange place. Where am I? Around him was an endless void, with a massive door before him, bound tightly with chains. Black-red mist, his power emanated from it, growing stronger. Gray jolted, realizing, this is that power. He wondered, if I open it, will I gain that strength? Hesitating, he weighed his decision. Taking cautious steps toward the door, he froze as a monstrous, demonic creature seemed to lunge, ready to devour him. Clutching his chest, gasping, Gray thought, I do not know why, but I am certain of one thing. Swallowing hard, his eyes welled with fear. If I open this door in my current state, I will die. He awoke in a panic, eyes wide, scanning his surroundings. He lay in a bed, with Saria beside him, her face etched with worry. Gray, you are awake. Dazed, he asked, where am I? Saria replied, the village clinic. You have been out for 5 days. I was afraid you would not wake up. Gray touched his head. 5 days, I overexerted myself. My body's paying the price. Saria recalled that moment, thinking overexerted was an understatement for what he would done. She asked, more importantly, is your body okay? Can you move? Gray's face twisted in horror. His right arm trembled, unable to lift. I can't put any strength into my dominant hand. With effort, it twitched slightly. Can I even hold a sword with this hand anymore? From the bandages, faint black wisps seeped out. And this mark? Saria interrupted his thoughts. It is not moving well, is it? Gray frowned. She can't see it, he replied. I can't use my dominant hand. Her expression grew grave. As I suspected, your right arm won't recover normally anytime soon. I mean, every bone in it is shattered. Gray blinked, shocked. My bones are shattered, but I feel no pain. Saria explained, we treated you with magical recovery potions. Gray's eyes widened further. Magical recovery potions, aren't those incredibly expensive? Sitting beside him, Saria reassured, don't worry. The village chief provided them. Gray was stunned. The chief? Why would he give something like that to someone like me? Saria's gaze was firm, her smile warm. What are you talking about? Gray, you are the hero of this village. Still confused, Gray froze. At that moment, the village chief burst through the door. Before Gray could speak, the chief declared, Gray, we are the ones who should thank you. He explained, that was an ogre general, a monster so powerful that even the combined forces of nearby towns could not scratch it. It was targeting our village. Rushing to Gray's side, he grasped his hand. If you had not defeated it, this village would have been razed. Without you and Saria, these potions, this clinic, the lives of everyone you saved, none of it would exist. Gray's eyes widened, while Saria smiled proudly beside him. Softly, he replied, you are exaggerating. The chief laughed heartily. You know I am not. You must realize the weight of what you have done. Gray's gaze darkened. He is right. In the world before I traveled back, this village was destroyed by the goblin attack. Standing, the chief continued, If you still do not grasp the significance of your actions, I am happy to explain further. I hear you are taking the entrance exam for the World Alliance Academy, right? Gray gasped, realization hitting him. He would fought the goblins a week before the exam. If I was out for 5 days, that leaves only 2, panic crept into his voice. It is a 3-day walk to the academy, or 1 day by horse, but I do not have money for a horse. He turned to the chief. Please, sir, can I borrow a horse? The chief stepped forward confidently. I knew you would say that, so I have prepared the fastest horse in the village. You will get there in no time. Saria chimed in, grinning. If you had not woken up today, we were planning to carry you there while you were still unconscious. Gray opened the clinic door, squinting against the sunlight. Before him was a sight he would never experienced. The villagers beamed with gratitude, holding posters thanking him and wishing him luck for the exam. Their faces radiated joy. Thank you, Gray, you have got to pass. Young women gazed at him with admiration. Thanks for saving our village. A villager approached, handing Gray a bag. Please, take this. Gray opened it, puzzled. They explained, it is a gift from the whole village. We heard the academy's exam registration fee is steep. Overwhelmed with happiness, Gray's face lit up like the sun. Everyone, thank you. Approaching the horse, he muttered, if I fail now, I won't have the face to return. Saria reassured him, teasing, no need to worry. No candidate at that academy has ever defeated an ogre general. Gray glanced at his right hand, anxious. But with my hand like this. He tested his left hand, clenching it firmly. Saria smiled. That is enough. You won't need that power. Gray frowned. The entrance exam won't be easy. Can I really pass with just one hand? As he mounted the horse, Saria said, don't worry. The academy's examiners are not so blind as to overlook true potential. I guarantee it. She smirked. You will definitely pass. Gray spoke his final words. Thank you so much. If you say that, I can't fail. Urging the horse forward, he thought, this village was destroyed in the old world, but now it stands. This world is different, the future can change. With his power, Gray smiled brightly. I am off. Soon, he neared the academy. Thanks to everyone, I made it in time. Looking ahead, he saw its vast expanse. So this is it. Countless candidates streamed toward the World Alliance Academy's entrance exam. The vast academy sprawled beneath a towering sky. A throng of candidates had gathered. The announcer's voice boomed, we will now distribute exam tickets. All candidates must remain in the central arena during this process. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. We are all candidates, right, but only about 20 get accepted. Gray listened closely. I heard the number of passers varies each year. Some years it is 50, others just 1. The announcer introduced, now, please welcome Professor Amelia. Professor Amelia smiled, raising her hand. Let us get straight to it. We are distributing exam tickets. Take the paper appearing before you. With a snap of her fingers, a golden wave of mana flowed from her, descending toward the candidates. A parchment materialized in front of Gray. Inscribed with candidate number 513, Swordsmanship Department. Everyone seemed to have theirs. Amelia continued, some of you may be surprised that the ticket only lists a number and department. That is standard every year. She chuckled lightly. The crowd leaned in, intrigued. The World Alliance Academy does not care about age, gender, nationality, background, or anything else. Leaning on the railing, she added, even your names mean nothing to us. Only those who pass the exam and cross the bridge earn the right to be asked their name. You can even use a fake one if you want. Gray glanced nervously at his ticket. I left my sword at the inn, yet I am assigned to swordsmanship. What kind of system is this? Amelia went on, also, I have chosen your departments based on your appearance. Her gaze turned intimidating. If anything's wrong, raise your hand. The crowd buzzed. She picked departments just by looking. No way she can do that, maybe they checked beforehand, or she used mind-reading magic. Seeing no raised hands, Amelia said, looks like everyone's in the right department. Next, check your exam schedule on your ticket. Gray's ticket glowed, revealing day 1, 9:00 a.m. Sweat beaded on his brow. Damn, I am scheduled for the first day. I was hoping for more time to heal. Amelia's tone grew stern. This practical exam happens once. If you are late, you are disqualified. Be on time. Gray frowned, listening intently. We do not accept requests to change schedules for personal reasons. Clutching his injured arm, Gray thought, I still can't put strength into my dominant hand. Please, Just heal a little by tomorrow. The next day arrived, and Gray's anxiety spiked. It has not improved at all. I will have to take the exam like this. The gatekeeper glanced at him. Next candidate, wait at the arena entrance. Gray exhaled, steadying himself. Now's not the time for pessimism. He tested his left hand, it worked perfectly, and his right, which moved slightly. Looking ahead with resolve, he thought, I will use the time I have to observe the examiner's movements, find an opening. Entering the arena, Gray watched a match in progress. Two fighters conversed on the stage. You can strike first, one said. A brawny candidate charged at a wiry, glasses-wearing examiner, unleashing a powerful blow. A shockwave erupted. But Glasses dodged effortlessly. The brawny candidate pressed on. I am not done. He swung his sword, conjuring a fiery arc. Only for Glasses to block it with ease. Impossible, the candidate gasped. Glasses counterattacked, sending the candidate sprawling with a single strike. His sword clattering away, the announcer declared. Your exam is over. Retrieve your weapon and exit the testing area. The candidate nodded, defeated. Below, Gray forced a wry smile. Frozen in place. I am doomed. Glasses called out, next, number 513. Gray responded, yes, his heart sank with despair. They expect me to fight someone who just crushed a guy twice his size with one hand. Stepping onto the stage, Glasses repeated, you can strike first. Gripping his sword tightly, Gray thought, honestly, I do not stand a chance, but I will do whatever I can. He charged, shouting, here goes. Recalling Saria's teachings, he focused, a sword is not just swung with the hand. You channel force from your whole body into the arm, then unleash the strike. His gaze hardened, that is what Master taught me, right? Holding the sword firmly, he thought, if my right hand lacks strength, I will compensate with other muscles. He swung, but as expected, Glasses dodged effortlessly. Gray gritted his teeth, reflecting, I can't fight my usual way. Studying his opponent, he thought, if swinging a sword without arm strength were easy, no one would bother training their body. Glasses attacked. Gray watched the blade approach, bewildered. The examiner's sword. In his eyes, the motion seemed to slow, almost sluggish. He dodged and parried the strike. Focusing ahead, he thought, the blow's strong, but its speed and technique can't compare to Master's. Analyzing Glasses, Gray strategized, if I rely on the swordsmanship Master taught me, I might offset my arm's weakness. A red glint flashed in his eyes. The two clashed, neither gaining the upper hand, one attacking, the other defending. Glasses gritted his teeth, unable to underestimate Gray. He is slower than I thought, Gray realized, not as strong as I feared. Saria's image surfaced in his mind. You will definitely pass, Master. Their swords collided. And Gray pushed Glasses' blade back. Beaming with determination, he thought, I can really do this.